They say old buildings have history. Blackwood Antiquities had a past that refused to stay buried. Stepping through its doors was like entering a realm where time itself was warped, and the air was thick with centuries of secrets. My name is Olivia Morgan, an art history student who needed a job. Instead, I was given 3 strange rules just to survive the night shift. What's the creepiest antique you've ever seen? Tell me in the comments below. And if you're brave enough to step into the showroom after dark, subscribe to Night Creepypasta Rules and ring that bell. Because in this store, the objects aren't just relics, they're witnesses. The shift begins now. The air in Blackwood Antiquities clawed at my lungs, heavy with dust and the sour tang of aged wood. As if the store exhaled centuries of secrets, I stood in the doorway, my boots scuffing the warped floorboards of this colonial relic in Boston's North End. My new workplace. I'm Olivia Morgan, a 27-year-old art history student, broke and desperate enough to take a night shift job that promised easy money. But the moment I crossed the threshold, a chill slithered down my spine, sharp and unyielding, like a warning I was too stubborn to heed. The showroom stretched before me, a maze of artifacts under flickering gaslight. Mahogany tables gleamed with unnatural polish, their surfaces scarred by time. Glass cases held tarnished silver and yellowed letters from the Revolutionary War, each item humming with a weight I couldn't name. At the far wall, a portrait loomed, a stern man in a powdered wig, his eyes painted with such precision they seemed to track my every step. I shivered, forcing my gaze away, but the air grew thicker, pressing against my chest. Eleanor Blackwood emerged from the shadows, her silver hair pinned tightly, her eyes sharp as cut glass. She moved with the grace of decades spent commanding this space, her tailored coat smelling faintly of lavender and something metallic, like old coins. "You're Olivia," she said, her voice low and measured, each word deliberate. "Welcome to Blackwood Antiquities. You'll find this place particular." She handed me a folded note, its edges brittle. My fingers brushed the rough paper, and a faint jolt ran through me like static. I unfolded it and read the 3 rules scrawled in elegant script, my voice wavering as they echoed in the silent store. Never turn your back on the Revolutionary War portrait for more than 30 seconds. If the temperature drops suddenly near the colonial furniture, leave salt across all doorways and wait in the office until dawn. If you hear a child's laughter from the toy collection after 2 a.m., do not investigate or call out. I looked up, expecting a smile, a hint of jest. Eleanor's face was a mask, her lips a thin line. "Follow them precisely," she said. "This store has guests who don't take kindly to carelessness." Her gaze flicked to the portrait, and I swore its eyes narrowed, glinting in the dim light. The next few hours dragged, filled with Eleanor's instructions. Log inventory, check displays, avoid the locked basement. But the store felt alive, its shadow shifting just beyond my sight. As I dusted a case, a faint giggle drifted from the toy collection. A glass-eyed doll, a wooden horse, relics of children long gone. My heart hammered, but the sound vanished, leaving only the creak of settling wood. Near midnight, I stood before the portrait, its subject, Captain William Hayes. Eleanor had called him. Staring through me, I turned to adjust a crooked frame, counting silently. 20 seconds. 25. At 31, a breath grazed my neck, cold and deliberate, whispering my name. I spun back, pulse racing, but the portrait was unchanged, its eyes locked on mine, too close, too knowing. Then it happened. Crossing the colonial furniture display, the air turned frigid, my breath clouding in the dim light. The temperature plummeted, sharp and unnatural, like stepping into a grave. My skin prickled, every instinct screaming to run. Rule 2. I fumbled for the salt packet Eleanor had left, my hands trembling as I poured a shaky line across the office doorway. The furniture, a claw-footed chair, a chipped bureau, seemed to lean closer, their outlines blurring in the gloom. A low hum rose, not sound but sensation, vibrating in my bones. I stumbled into the office, slamming the door, and sank against the wall, the salt line my only shield. The store was silent now, but the cold lingered, seeping through the cracks. I clutched the rules, their words burning in my mind. This was no ordinary job. Blackwood Antiquities was watching me, and I wasn't sure I'd survive the night. The office smelled of stale coffee and wax, its walls pressing in like a coffin. I sat, hunched over the desk, the salt line at the doorway glinting faintly under the desk lamp's glow. My hands still shook from the cold that had gripped the store, a cold that felt alive, purposeful. The rules lay before me, their ink stark against the yellowed paper, but they offered no answers, only warnings. I kept glancing at the door, half expecting the furniture to lumber through, their wooden limbs creaking with intent. A knock jolted me upright. "Olivia, you okay?" The voice was warm, grounding. Mikhail Chen, the day shift restorer, stood outside, his dark eyes scanning me through the door's glass panel. He was maybe 29 with a lean build and a cautious smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I let him in, the salt crunching under his boots, and he raised an eyebrow. "Eleanor's rules, huh? She's intense about those." He dropped into a chair, his jacket smelling faintly of varnish and sawdust. "This place is weird," he said, leaning forward. "I've heard things, whispers, footsteps. Old rumors say it's haunted, tied to the Blackwood family's history." His words hung in the air, and I caught a flicker in the corner of my eye, a shadow darting across the office mirror, gone when I turned. I told him about the cold, the hum, sparing the details of my panic. Michael nodded like it wasn't news. "The colonial display's always been off. I found salt residue there once before you started." He paused, his fingers tapping the desk. "Eleanor doesn't talk about it, but she knows more than she lets on." We moved to the showroom, the gaslights casting long, wavering shadows. I avoided the portrait's gaze, but its presence bore into me, heavy as a hand on my shoulder. Michael pointed to a colonial chair, its upholstery frayed. "This one's from 1780, he said, supposedly owned by a Blackwood." I reached out, curious, and my fingers brushed the fabric. A jolt hit me, sharp as lightning, and the world blurred. I was somewhere else. A dim room, a girl's scream, water rushing. My sister Sarah's face flashed, her eyes wide with terror, her small hands clawing at a frozen lake surface. I gasped, yanking my hand back, the showroom snapping into focus. Michael steadied me, his grip firm. "You okay?" I nodded, my throat tight, guilt clawing at my chest. Sarah. Always Sarah. The portrait's eyes seemed to gleam brighter now, fixed on me. I turned to check a display case, counting. 20 seconds. 25. At 32, a whisper slithered through the air, low and guttural, forming my name. "Olivia?" I spun, heart pounding, but the portrait was still, its lips unmoving. Michael frowned, hearing nothing, and I wondered if I was losing it. Eleanor appeared silently, her lavender scent cutting through the dust. "Everything all right?" Her voice was smooth, but her eyes lingered on me, searching. I mumbled about nerves, and she smiled. "Too perfect, too sharp. This store tests you, Olivia. Stay vigilant." She glided away, but her words felt like a threat, and the air grew heavier, as if the store itself agreed. Michael left for the night, promising to dig into the store's records. Alone, I paced the showroom, the floorboards groaning underfoot. A faint scratching came from the toy collection, like tiny fingers on wood. I froze, pulse racing, but remembered the third rule: don't investigate. The sound stopped, but the silence was worse, thick and watchful. I clutched the salt packet, its weight a fragile comfort, and wondered what I'd gotten myself into. The store's silence was a living thing, coiling around me as I sat in the office, the clock ticking toward 2 a.m. The air smelled of dust and something sweeter, like rotting flowers, seeping through the walls. My fingers traced the rules, their words etched into my mind, but they couldn't quiet the memory of Sarah's face in that vision, her scream echoing from a decade ago. I'd failed her then, and now this place was digging up that guilt, twisting it like a knife. A faint giggle broke the quiet, high and childlike, drifting from the toy collection. My blood ran cold. Rule 3, don't investigate, don't call out. I gripped the desk, my nails digging into the wood, and stared at the doorway, the salt line undisturbed. The laughter came again, sharper, joined by a soft thump. Like a toy falling, I wanted to run, to scream, but I stayed rooted. The rule a chain around my instincts. The gaslights flickered, casting jagged shadows across the showroom. I glimpsed a doll's head in the toy display, its glass eyes glinting, turned slightly toward me. My breath hitched, but I told myself it was a trick of the light. The laughter faded, leaving a silence that pressed against my eardrums, heavy and wrong. Heavy and wrong. I checked the clock. 2:03 a.m. The night was far from over. Michael arrived early, his face pale under the gaslight. Found something, he said, spreading yellowed papers on the desk. A 1782 record about Rebecca Blackwood, Eleanor's ancestor. She was 8 when she died, supposedly killed by Captain William Hayes. That guy in the portrait. His voice dropped. They hanged him, but some say he was framed. I glanced at the portrait, its eyes seeming to darken, and a chill crawled up my arms. We searched the showroom, Michael's flashlight cutting through the gloom. A mirror reflected a fleeting figure, a girl in a white dress, gone in a blink. My heart pounded, but I kept moving, driven by a need to understand. In the colonial display, I touched a bureau, and another vision hit. A woman chanting, blood on her hands, a child's body at her feet. I staggered back, gasping, and Michael caught me, his eyes wide. What's happening to you? Eleanor's voice cut through the dark. You're up late, Michael. She stood in the doorway, her lavender scent cloying, her smile too tight. Michael stiffened, muttering about inventory, but Eleanor's gaze locked on me, piercing. Careful, Olivia. Curiosity can be dangerous. She left, but her words lingered, and I noticed a faint burn on her wrist, like a ritual mark. Alone again, I paced the office, the air growing colder. A soft scrape came from the toy collection, like wood dragging across wood. I clutched the salt, my palms sweaty, and checked the clock. 3 a.m. The portrait's eyes seemed to follow me through the walls, and I wondered if Hayes was the threat, or something else. Michael's papers mentioned a locked basement, sealed since 1782. What was Eleanor hiding down there? The laughter returned, louder, a chorus of childish voices weaving through the store. I pressed my hands to my ears, the rule screaming in my mind, but a doll rolled across the floor, stopping at the office doorway. Its eyes gleamed, fixed on me, and I slammed the door, my breath ragged. The salt line held, but the store felt alive, its walls pulsing with malice. I wasn't just surviving the night, I was being hunted. The office was a cage, its air thick with the scent of dust and fear. My fear, sharp and metallic on my tongue. The doll's glassy stare lingered in my mind, its unnatural roll across the floor, a warning I couldn't ignore. I sat at the desk, the rules clutched in my hands, their paper creased for my grip. The clock read 3:30 a.m., and the store's silence was a predator waiting to pounce. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the gaslights, set my nerves alight. A soft knock startled me. Joseph Montgomery, an 80-year-old historian and friend of the Blackwoods, stood outside, his face lined with age and something heavier. Guilt, maybe. His tweed coat smelled of pipe smoke, and his hands trembled as he handed me a book. "You wanted answers," he said, voice low. "This mentions the Blackwoods' occult ties. Be careful, Lilia." His eyes darted to the portrait, and I swore its lips twitched. I opened the book, its pages brittle, and found a passage about 1782. Rituals, blood, a child's sacrifice. My stomach churned, and a shadow flickered in the office mirror, too tall to be mine. I slammed the book shut, my pulse racing, but Joseph was gone, his footsteps echoing down the hall. The air grew colder, the colonial display's chill seeping through the walls. I ventured into the showroom, the gaslights dimming as I passed the portrait. Its eyes bored into me, and I counted. 20 seconds, 25. At 31, a low moan filled the air, like wind through a crypt, and the canvas seemed to ripple. I backed away, my boots scuffing the floor, and tripped over a chair in the colonial display. The temperature plummeted, my breath clouding, and the hum returned, vibrating in my chest. Rule 2. I grabbed the salt, pouring it across the doorway, but the grains scattered, as if pushed by an unseen hand. The furniture, chairs, a bureau, creaked, their shadows stretching into claws. A figure materialized, tall and eyeless, its form woven from dust and darkness. I ran, my heart pounding, and dove into the office, slamming the door. The salt line was broken, and the hum grew louder, rattling the walls. In desperation, I searched the desk and found a hidden journal, its leather cover cracked. Inside, scrawled notes. The portrait binds him. The child's blood seals the gate. Another must take her place. My hands shook as I read. Eleanor's lavender scent lingering on the pages. A vision hit. Sarah drowning, her screams merging with a girl's, Rebecca's. I dropped the journal, gasping, and the portrait's eyes glowed through the door's glass, unblinking. Michael burst in, his face pale. "What's happening?" I showed him the journal, but he backed away, his eyes flicking to the door. "Eleanor's coming," he whispered, and I noticed his hands, scarred, like ritual burns. Eleanor appeared, her smile predatory. "You've been busy, Olivia." Her voice was silk, but her eyes were knives, and the air crackled with her presence. The toy collection erupted in laughter, a cacophony of childish voices, and a wooden horse rocked violently, its eyes painted red. I clutched the journal, its weight a lifeline, and realized the store wasn't just haunted. It was a trap, and I was its prey. Eleanor's burn mark pulsed, and I wondered how deep her secrets ran, and whether Michael was friend or foe. The air in Blackwood Antiquities crackled with malice, a storm of unseen eyes and whispers pressing against my skin. I stood in the office, the journal's leather cover burning under my fingers, its words, "Another must take her place," searing my mind. Eleanor's lavender scent lingered, a venomous thread weaving through the dust, and her predatory smile haunted me. The store pulsed, its walls groaning like a beast stirring from sleep. My pulse hammered, Sarah's scream from the vision echoing in my skull, merging with Rebecca's. I wasn't just trapped, I was chosen. A child's laughter erupted, a shrill chorus from the toy collection, sharp as shattered glass. The wooden horse rocked violently, its red-painted eyes gleaming, and dolls tilted forward, their glass gazes fixed on me. Rule 3 screamed in my mind. Don't investigate. But this was no longer about rules. The store was a predator, and I was its prey. I clutched the journal, its weight a fragile anchor, and stepped into the showroom, the gaslights flickering like dying stars. Eleanor stood by the portrait, her silver hair glowing unnaturally, a burn mark pulsing with a sickly light. "You've seen too much, Olivia," she said, her voice silk over steel. "But you're perfect. Your grief, your guilt, it's what the gate needs." Her eyes gleamed, and the portrait rippled, Captain Hay's face contorting, his mouth opening in a silent scream. A cold wind swirled, smelling of blood and ash, and the colonial furniture creaked, their shadows twisting into claws. I backed away, my boots scuffing the floorboards, and tripped over a salt packet. The grain scattered, useless now, and the hum from the furniture display grew, rattling my bones. "What gate?" I demanded, my voice shaking. Eleanor laughed, a chilling sound, and raised her hand, revealing a dagger etched with runes. "The gate to eternity," she said. "Rebecca's blood opened it. Yours will bring her back." A figure emerged from the shadows. Joseph Montgomery, his face ashen, his hands trembling. "She bound me. Her magic. It's in my blood." His eyes darted to Eleanor, and I realized the twist. Joseph wasn't an ally. He was her puppet, luring victims to this cursed store. My stomach churned, betrayal cutting deeper than fear. The portrait shuddered, and Hay's voice boomed, low and desperate. "She lies. I didn't kill Rebecca. She did." The canvas bled, dark rivulets dripping to the floor, and Eleanor's smile faltered. I seized the moment, grabbing a candelabra and smashing it against the portrait. The frame splintered, and a wail filled the air, shaking the walls. Eleanor lunged, her dagger slicing my arm, hot pain blooming as blood soaked my sleeve. I ran, the store a labyrinth of shifting shadows. The toy collection erupted, dolls skittering across the floor, their tiny hands grasping at my ankles. I kicked them away, my breath ragged, and dove behind a bureau. A vision hit Sarah, her face pale, pointing to a salt circle hidden under a rug. "Close it," she whispered, her voice a lifeline. I scrambled to the circle, pouring salt from a nearby case. But Eleanor was faster, her dagger glinting as she closed in. Hay's spirit surged from the portrait, a whirlwind of light and rage, pinning Eleanor against the wall. "Now, Olivia!" he roared. I completed the circle, chanting words from the journal. Words I didn't understand but felt in my bones. The air screamed, a vortex of cold and fire, and the furniture collapsed, their wood splintering like bones. Eleanor clawed at the salt, her burn mark blazing, but the circle held, trapping her. A child's form appeared. Rebecca, her eyes hollow, her voice a sob. "You killed me, Mother." Eleanor's scream was inhuman, her body convulsing as the gate, a pulsing void in the portrait, swallowed her. The store shook, glass shattering, and I fell. Sarah's hand guiding me to the door, the gate closed, silence crashing in its wake. But my arm throbbed, and the store's pulse lingered, weak but alive. The dawn broke over Boston's North End, a pale light seeping through the shattered windows of Blackwood Antiquities. But it brought no warmth. I sat on the curb, my arm bandaged by a paramedic, the cut from Eleanor's dagger stinging with every heartbeat. The store loomed behind me, its brick facade cracked, its interior a ruin of splintered wood and broken glass. The air smelled of ash and salt, a bitter reminder of the night's horrors. My hands trembled. Sarah's final touch, a cold, fleeting pressure, lingering on my skin. Michael found me, his face pale, his scarred hands tucked into his jacket. "What happened in there?" he asked, his voice low, eyes flicking to the store. He nodded, but his gaze lingered too long, and I wondered what he knew, what secrets his scars hid. A police officer approached, mentioning Eleanor's disappearance, and I caught a faint giggle from the rubble, sharp and childlike. gone in a blink. I walked away, the journal tucked under my arm, its pages heavy with truth. The paramedic had found a toy in my pocket, a glass-eyed doll, its smile too wide. I dropped it, crushing it under my boot, but the crunch felt wrong, like breaking bone. My arm itched, the wound pulsing, and I swore I saw a shadow in a nearby window, tall and eyeless, watching. At home, I locked the journal in a drawer, its leather cover cold against my fingers. The apartment smelled of coffee and dust, but the silence was oppressive, echoing the store's malice. I dreamed of Sarah, her face merging with Rebecca's, their voices whispering, "It's not over." I woke, gasping, and found salt grains on my floor, scattered in a perfect circle. My heart raced, the rules flashing in my mind, but there was no office to hide in now. Michael called, offering to check the store's records for answers. "Eleanor had allies," he said, his voice tense. "The Blackwoods aren't done." I agreed to meet him, but his scars gnawed at me. A question I couldn't ask. The dull smile haunted my thoughts, and I checked my wound, the skin around it gray, unnaturally cold. The store was gone, but its grip tightened, a noose I couldn't escape. 3 months later, Boston's North End felt like a graveyard, its cobblestone streets heavy with the weight of my memories. I tried to move on, burying myself in my studies, but Blackwood Antiquities clung to me, a shadow stitched into my skin. My apartment smelled of stale air and regret. The journal locked away, but never silent, its whispers bleeding into my dreams. Sarah's face haunted me, her eyes pleading, merging with Rebecca's hollow gaze. My arm wound never healed, its gray edges pulsing, a reminder of the gate's touch. I avoided mirrors, but they betrayed me. Once, brushing my hair, I saw Rebecca's face behind mine, her lips moving, voiceless. I smashed the mirror, glass cutting my palms, but the laughter followed, childish, sharp, echoing from nowhere. My hands shook as I swept the shards, finding a single red-painted eye, like the wooden horse staring up from the debris. I burned it, the smoke stinging my eyes, but the air grew colder, the scent of lavender creeping in. Michael had vanished after our last call, his number disconnected. I tracked down Joseph, now in a nursing home, his mind fray. "She's not gone," he whispered, his hands clawing at his sleeves, revealing burn marks like Eleanor's. "The Blackwoods own this city." His words led me to a news article. Blackwood Antiquities was being rebuilt, funded by an anonymous investor named E.B. Blackwood. My stomach twisted, the initials a blade in my gut. I returned to the site, the new store rising from the rubble, its brick facade gleaming under moonlight. The air smelled of fresh paint and old blood, and the rules burned in my mind, useless now. Inside, the showroom was reborn, the portrait restored at its center. I froze, my breath clouding, as its eyes locked on mine. Not Hayes, but mine, painted with cruel precision. A giggle echoed, and the toy collection stirred, dolls turning to face me, their smiles wide. A vision hit, Sarah and Rebecca, hand in hand, chanting, "Burn it!" I grabbed a canister of kerosene from a construction pile, my hands steady despite the fear. The portrait's eyes followed me, my own eyes accusing. I doused the canvas, the liquid pooling like blood, and struck a match. Flames roared, the store screaming. A human wail, Eleanor's voice woven with Rebecca's sobs. I ran, the heat searing my back, and the building collapsed, a pyre of ash and secrets. I walked away, the North End silent, but the laughter followed, soft and relentless, weaving through the streets. My wound throbbed, and I felt a tug, like a thread pulling me back. At home, I checked the journal, its pages blank now, but a new note appeared, scrawled in childish script. "We're still playing." I burned it, the flames licking my fingers, but the air hummed, The store's pulse alive in my veins. I looked in the mirror, my reflection blinking when I didn't, and knew Blackwood Antiquities wasn't gone. It was me. Blackwood Antiquities holds its secrets tight, sealed in dust and sorrow. Olivia Morgan learned that some rules are written in fear, and some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed. The rules were just a fragile shield against the true horror lurking within the store. The fire is out, but the echoes linger. Seriously, if you didn't stay until the very end, you missed the final chilling discovery, the twist that reveals the horrifying ongoing price of entering Blackwood Antiquities. The last few moments will leave you looking differently at your own reflection. What do you think happened to Rebecca Blackwood? What was Captain William Hayes' true role? Share your theories in the comments below. And if you made it through the night at Blackwood, if the store hasn't claimed you, then you're already a part of our story. Subscribe to Night Creepypasta Rules, because some histories, they refuse to fade, and the reflections, they remain.